table. I'm Soren.
And I'm Caitie. This week in the Rose Garden, we're talking to...
Who are you?
I'm Emily.
And we're going to talk about what it's like to be a newbie player at the table with our good friend Emily, who at this point isn't necessarily super new to the table.
I'm still pretty newbie.
But she considers herself.
She thinks she's new, which is fair. You could be playing it for a while and then think, no, I don't know anything still.
So we have some questions that we'll be working through, but it's also just like a conversation. So
yeah,
there's
we're
no
just
real structure
hanging.
here. Just hanging out. So Emily.
Yeah?
When did you start playing?
It's got to be what was that? A year and a half ago, maybe?
Something like that, right?
It was the middle of Grant's campaign.
Right, the middle of
Was
Grant's
that not
campaign.
2 years ago?
Was it?
I thought it was 2 or 3.
I asked Sam this the other day, and I have already forgotten the
we
answer.
experienced a COVID, so...
I feel like Grant's campaign... Because we were finishing Sam's first campaign during COVID, because we did our last session in our garage, so that we could be more spread out. So that would have been in 2020. So then...
It's probably about 2 years then.
About-ish, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
She coming up on 2.5.
Yeah, I'm a little D&D toddler. It's a toddling role player.
Give us a description.
I thought you were going to say, give us a strength check.
Yeah,
I was
go
like,
ahead
I don't
and
have any dice.
Wisdom check. Anyway, no, tell us about your characters that you've played so far.
Yeah.
Okay, so my first character, her name was Ayla, and as a new D&D babe, just hopping into the middle of a campaign, I had no idea what was going on.
Sure.
Anything about anything.
Right.
And just the world of opportunities. And I tried to pick the weirdest combinations. So she was an Earth Genasi rogue.
Great.
So she, and this was at the time of Mandalorian.
Sure.
So think Gina Carano
Okay.
in Mandalorian,
Sure, yeah.
but made out of rocks.
An earth
And
bender.
an assassin.
There you go, yeah.
And her role, because I knew nothing about the world building, the story, the plot, nothing, was just pure, unadulterated chaos. And I now realize that this was not kind to Grant necessarily.
Sure.
But I had the best time
Poked buttons, man.
poking buttons, pushing boundaries, just really testing his abilities for improvisation and how to deal with me. Particularly,
I was I like to keep to myself for the most part, so for this one, we're gonna send it.
we're just going for it. It's like the video that's popular right now, the little girl saying, "I'm the whole problem." That was me. I was the whole problem. But it was a great time.
That makes me think of How to Train Your Dragon, where Stoic Hiccup's dad, he goes, "No more of this." I think you just gestured to all of me.
She was fully the comedic relief of every scene.
Yeah.
That was awesome. She ate like a pail of sand.
Yeah. Because I went full tilt with the Earth Genasi,
Yeah.
but I only ate rocks.
Yeah.
And that became a comedic bit.
Yeah. There was an NPC that tried to hit on Aloderma, and she fully just bullied him.
Yeah. Because also no one knew, but I was playing it as a butch lesbian gym teacher kind of vibe, so she was not interested at all.
So some was it softer Miss Trunchbull, or do you think full on Trunchbull?
Full Trunchbull.
Trunch.
Mixed with John Wick, was the vibe. She was a character.
Yeah, that was.
Now I feel like we need to I need to. Did you ever have like art done of her? Or did you ever doodle her? Or- Okay, I have to see that sometime.
Yeah. And for this campaign that we're currently in, I really toned it back.
Huh.
I got that out of my system. So now I play Caitie, who is like a young teen druid, half elf, elf. And she's just a cute little sprout.
Sack of beans.
Yeah. And she's very much like a younger version of me, or like a little sister. And so she's just the innocent, happy, well, not right now, but in general, like,
ideally.
Yeah, because Aloderma, her backstory was like, I took inspiration from Kill Bill for the backstory. So like her parents were horribly murdered right in front of her as a child.
I do recall that.
So like I went the full tilt, horrible, tragic backstory with her to give her a reason to be a murderous assassin. And to not blink an eye at torturing somebody for information, even though it wasn't necessary. But Caitie had just like a good childhood. And she still is very much a child. So everything that she's dealing with in this campaign is like the first time that she's dealt with something that's hard or tragic or like things beyond herself. So it's an extremely different vibe, but it's a good change.
Yes.
So yeah, that's
she's
where
a
we're at
sweet
now.
little nugget.
Yeah.
She's so fun to. It's fun to watch you play her, and it's fun to watch you make decisions because there's still plenty of like little baby chaos seeds in Caitie.
Yeah, because she's a teen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, fuck this shit.
Why did you start playing?
Oh yeah.
I started playing, and it's a little simply because my friends were doing it. Like I'm not yet.
Jump off that bridge.
Yeah. I was not one that like consumed a whole bunch of D&D media.
Right.
Sure.
Like I've heard of Critical Role and all those, but I didn't watch any of it. Like, and a little bit of the hipster part of me was like, this is popular now. I'm not gonna get in there.
Hell yeah, Batman.
But like my dad played it when he was a kid.
Oh sure.
So
You're kidding.
no, Jeff played D&D.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
In the 80s, like in the original.
Oh my goodness.
So like I grew up hearing him talk about it,
Sure.
that he did that with his friends. But at that point, it was the like rebellious thing because the
spawn of
satanic
Satan.
panic and that kind of thing. So they were little rebels for playing
right.
D&D.
Right.
But
Worshipping Satine.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, then all my actor friends were just having a good time without me. And so we ended up doing a one-shot.
Oh yeah.
So that was my actual first.
That was the one where we like played ourselves, right?
Was I at that?
I think so.
Did Sam give us letters?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Halloween.
I have that letter still. I read it on days that are bad.
No.
It made me cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you hear that, Sam?
He'll get you.
Yeah.
He'll get you.
Yeah, big old ballin'.
We played ourselves as D&D characters.
Yeah.
So like Sam helped us pick classes that kind of aligned with our personalities.
Yeah.
Which I was a monk.
Yeah.
I remember that. What were you, Soren? Do you remember?
I was the villain-ish, so I was like, I think I might have been a wizard. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah.
But
God, that feels like a
honest to
fever
God,
dream.
like when we did that one shot, I was not like as into improv with D&D as I am now. And so Sam had asked me like, hey, you want to come in, like be the pseudo like villain who's obsessed with like TikTok and technology, basically like be the squib from Be More Chill in a way. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, that sounds like so much fun. But I wish that I had like been into improv a little bit more, because like I look back at that and I'm like, I missed so many opportunities to be an absolute goon, but it was so fun.
Right.
It was a great time. Yeah.
Were you a druid?
No, I was a human fighter.
Right, you were a gunslinger.
Oh yeah.
Of course you were. Yeah.
Yeah. That tracks. But yeah, so that was my first, like, dip in the toe in with the group of friends that I knew was already playing.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just inserted myself.
I'm doing this now.
But, like, I want to be part of this.
I'm involved.
Yeah.
Well, along those lines then, what kept you, like, returning to the table? Like, what hooked you?
Because what other opportunity do you have as an adult to play pretend with your friends?
Unless they're your youth, like unless they're your children.
Yeah.
But like with friends who are your age,
right?
100%.
And I mean, to that point, even like playing pretend with your kids is like, okay, mommy's the patient. What kind of doctor's visit am I attending? And this pretend is like, who's gonna cry today? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what kind of emotional baggage can we let out?
Are you strong enough to hit me?
Therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Who can I take a hit at today, but in a fun way?
Yeah. Can I be passive aggressive? Can we, like...
Can I just skip the passive, be aggressive? Like
try on new things.
And we've talked about that plenty, like on the podcast, which is like you can try on new hats of personalities and see if it's like, oh, that's something I've never really experienced before.
Totally.
Yeah.
What surprised you about playing?
I think personally, because I don't consider myself an actor at all.
Sure. I feel that.
And I came into it with the, like, these are all my actor friends doing this.
Right, sure.
And so I was anticipating everyone being, like, really, like, in it on the role play all the time. And that I would be, like, not at the same level.
Sure.
Because, like, not an actor, introvert.
Yeah.
But it surprised me how much I enjoyed role playing and like how natural it was for me to get into a character when I'm not usually that in any other facet.
Right.
So that was surprising.
Okay.
Just the like ease.
Yeah, okay. Would you say that like because your friends were there and they were all doing it, did that make it feel easier or did that make it more stressful for you?
No. If it were like, it is nightmare fuel for me thinking of people that join tables
just like blindly
of like random people. That is nightmare fuel. I could not. But the epitome of a safe space of like, these are all my friends.
Yeah.
I can be a goofball and no one's gonna care.
I can fuck up and they'll like help me figure it out.
I can do a really, really terrible accent and no one's gonna bat an eye.
Right.
So,
oh that's really funny. What was the hardest thing to pick up?
Everything.
Sure.
When you start, there's just so many options. For literally everything. From character building, like picking race, class, and then backstory, but then in game, trying to remember what all tools you have at your disposal.
Right.
So whether that's actions in combat or character choices outside of combat or the options you have with talking to your DM about where you want to go with things, like there's just so many options that trying to hold everything in your brain palace at the same time is just so overwhelming. And that is the hardest to like pick up and be able to move with seamlessly through the session.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just watched a video that like Jenny D was talking about playing D&D with her parents and she showed these super cool like cheat sheets she made them, and I'm interested to know your thoughts on this. She like went ahead and built her characters for her parents. In this scenario, it made sense for her parents. She let them make some decisions, but she went ahead and like picked features that she think would like work really well for their character, and she just like did that loadout for them, gave them the sheet, and then gave them a supplementary sheet of like this is what like this particular type of action does. It hits really hard. Like made a list of those things. And I was like, oh, that's kind of like some of the stuff that we like are trying to make on the podcast, like some of our digital stuff and stuff that I'd love to do more of. Do you think that would have been helpful for you initially?
Like training wheels.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah. The like, here, let's pare down the options that you have so you can focus on just a couple. And that you don't neglect the things that are potentially useful just because they get lost in the sauce somewhere.
That's fair.
Yeah, training wheels I think would be really helpful, because I think that's why in the first campaign I went just balls to the wall, because
buck ass wild.
Yeah,
so many options. I'm picking
the craziest. Because why not? Like if you have all of them, of course I'm going to pick what I deem to be the coolest or the weirdest or the most unique.
Right.
But then it ends up kind of pigeonholing you in different ways. Or
yeah, because then you feel like you're stuck in this, like, well, I've been like this the whole time. So, like, my character, there might be some times where I'm like, my character's a little one-dimensional. Like, you know, I'm always going to pick the crazy thing. But, I mean, I think for a first experience, like, that's totally okay. But, like, as you grow.
Yeah.
It's interesting because usually the pattern is your first character is you in D&D.
Oh,
and
that's
then
a
your
good point.
second character is the balls to the walls one, and you just flipped it and reversed it.
And she was like, no.
Actually, I'm going to do the crazy ass thing first and then rein it in.
You really did like throw the spaghetti at the wall though, and you like found out what stuck.
Yeah. But if I were to go back, things that would just make more sense, if I were to do that character again in a way that made more sense, like she would have made a whole lot more sense as a barbarian.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah. That's
than a rogue.
Right.
Sure.
Because like I never played her sneaky because she was so just out there and aggressive that a barbarian would have
been great,
made much more sense, and would have worked so much better in the like combat situations.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool to like, even if you don't use her, to like rebuild her in a barbarian like format and like see what you could adjust to make her like optimized. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. That's really cool.
With that in mind, what do you wish somebody would have told you about role-playing games and D&D and all that before you started?
I just wish there would have been a like disclaimer that you don't have to have it all figured out right away and so like on it. Like I feel like there's some internal pressure in the middle of a session to like do everything quickly, have everything prepared right off rip. Like there shouldn't be any downtime, or if there's downtime and it's your turn, then like everyone's waiting on you and they want to get to their part. And so I think there's, even if it's not from any external source, that it's like no one else is making you feel that way, but the internal pressure is that there's like, you have to be with it. And that's not really the case, especially if you're playing with friends. Like people are patient. It's fine.
We're all just like hanging out. Like that's the point of the session, is to spend time with friends.
Yeah.
But
so
I could agree. I think I felt that way too, like when I first started playing, and I was fortunate also enough to like play with a bunch of friends to start out. But yeah, it's this like, there's a little bit of like an overwhelming, like, I have to know what I'm doing and I have to know everything that they know. And if I don't, then I'm wasting everybody's time. And that could be a little like personal, because I definitely put that pressure on myself. But
yeah. Okay. Well, as a new player, if you were to try to bring someone else into our group, even though you probably shouldn't because we have 10 people, what, aside from like the lack of pressure that you would want them to feel, what else would you tell them? Like, how would you pitch the game? Or secondary question, like, how would you prepare them for the first session?
I'm not sure how I would pitch it.
Sure.
Because I didn't really need a pitch.
Right.
Like, in itself.
You just got shepherd hooked
well,
into the room.
just the premise itself is enough to get me in
Sure,
there.
That is the pitch
Like
for you.
the mentality of like playing a video game as a group in your noodle is great to me. But if I were to bring someone else in that's a complete newbie, I would probably like give them a buddy.
Like a little mentor.
Yeah. Like in addition to some like training wheels, but have them with a friend that can like, it is like maybe the most senior person in the group.
Sure.
That like really knows their stuff.
And they're cool with like scaffolding aside new person.
And like it is their job for at least a while to assist them so that they're not feeling like they're completely on their own with all the decisions or having to like do anything simply by themselves because it is so overwhelming.
Yeah, that's not unlike how you've helped Claire come into the party, Caitie. Like,
truthfully, like that's when we were bringing Claire and she was like, I'm interested in doing this. I was like, I think I probably would have liked the same thing as a starting person, like just somebody to sit with me and be like, okay, you want to use that. And so like
I still use Caitie for that.
that first game that Claire was in our group, there was like immediately a combat. And so I was like, oh, baby doesn't know how to use combat yet. And so like I went across the room and sat with her.
Here, let's go.
Baby's first combat.
And I
time to die.
Thought about it like in retrospect, that particular combat, I honest to God kind of did everything for her. Aside from she rolled the dice, like anytime there was a roll, I let her do that. But I was like, okay, now we're going to attack and we're going to do this mainly so that like
she could feel the flow of it.
And there was like no decision making. She didn't have to make a single decision. And my thought kind of was, in retrospect, coming from that, like the next session, if there was another combat, I would sit with her again, but then kind of let her steer the ship, so to speak.
Yep.
And
that's funny, considering
because
she's a pirate.
Let her control her own combat, but then make recommendations, or if she has questions, answer those questions, and from there, like continue to like back up a little bit and let her do her thing.
Yeah, because I think there's a whole lot of pressure to also make the correct decision.
Yes. When there are like 12 correct because you have options. But I totally get that, like, there is a wrong one and I'm going to make it on accident and I'm going to fuck up.
Well, and her instance was a little bit unique that she came in as like the antagonist a little bit. But I think like if you are part of the protagonist group, your actions also impact how the combat goes for other people. And so you're really worried about making a decision that will negatively impact another character.
As somebody who has played a cleric, that is like a thing that particularly has come up. And this has been on Critical Role also. It's like, as a cleric, I have offensive spells, buffs, all of that, and like healing and stuff like that.
I heard that is like, I have offensive spells.
Off.
I know
offense.
You're saying the right word.
Okay,
you're
great.
100. I was like, I like to just like offend people.
I want to piss people off.
No,
but
offensive.
I could hit someone with a spiritual weapon,
right?
Or I could heal somebody,
right?
And like, or I could give bless out and help other people's rolls go better. And people made fun of Laura Bailey as Jester for like never being a cleric and just hitting people a lot with her like guiding bolts and stuff like that. But it's hard. It's like, do I use my turn to do big damage, or do I use my turn
to support
someone else? And with the understanding that either one could be a low roll and not be very beneficial.
And not be helpful. Yeah, I was like, once you were getting to the end of talking about that, I started thinking about when TJ and I are playing co-op in Genshin. A lot of the times I think just naturally I like lean into being more of the support role. And TJ is also very good at building his character, so he has some really good like DPS characters who can do a lot of big damage. But then I switch into like a shielder support role. And that's like part of the it's a little bit faster than like D&D combat, but it's that real time of like, is my shield up, am I actually giving them the support they need,
Right.
and like not focusing on my damage. But like when I'm playing D&D and I have all those options in front of me, I'm not thinking about like my hotkeys and my switches that can do that stuff quickly. And so I see all of it in front of me and I'm like, 12 options.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and there's the like consideration, especially in combat, that you don't know what everyone else is planning to do.
Yeah.
So you could try to like assist someone else, but that's not what they were planning for.
Sure.
And so it's wasted.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like, is it more beneficial because you don't know how much health a combatant has, if it's better to just like try to get them out of the picture as soon as possible,
Right.
or to support other people to like keep them in the fight for longer? Like there's just so many unknowns that it is stressy.
I was watching, I think it was Four-Sided Dive for Critical Role a couple weeks ago, and they had a Mighty Nine live show where all of their characters were level 20. So this is a group of characters that they played for like a full campaign, and then they brought them back for like this live show sort of one shot, and they were all level 20, but they had all been playing as these characters for so many years that they work well together, just like a team of like sports or whatever. Like it's a thing that comes with time.
Yeah.
And I feel like we as a table have not, the closest we got, I think, was Sam's campaign to like playing characters for an extended period of time together, kind of a thing, where you start to learn like, okay, Soren likes to do these things, so I know if I want to buff her, I can give this, like you start to learn people's patterns.
Yeah.
And those first, I don't know, 10 levels of playing together is just like everyone's trying to do stuff and nobody knows what anybody else is doing.
Do a thing, I do a thing.
Right.
Good job.
Right. And I think that's part of what's cool about it, though, is that if you can maintain a long-term campaign, you learn what people tend to do, and then by the level 20, not only are your characters like super duper strong, but you also have been playing long enough that you work together as a team better than you did at level 5, which like canonically tracks, like that kind
That
of
makes
thing.
sense.
What do you think out of all of the aspects of D&D, what is like your favorite? Like if you could do just one of the things, what's your absolute?
Lore and world building.
Damn. Okay. I was not expecting that. Say more.
You talk, but I was going to just like tiny comment and say like, I am not shocked.
So because there have been times like in between the first campaign that I was a part of and the second, like I had the brief thought of like, I would like to DM. Like I would love,
okay,
but I'm not.
You heard it here first.
No.
She's like, wait, no, I'm just kidding. No.
Shut up.
Because I'm not good enough at like rolling with the punches in real time to actually do that.
Sure.
So, but what was behind that thought was I loved like setting up the structure and the premise and the like environment for the group to play in. So the part that we're in, like in the campaign right now, I love learning about the world so much and like interacting with the environment and all the NPCs and how they interact with each other. Like that is my jam because I love the story of it and the fantasy and the kind of almost like writing cinematic aspect of it. And that we just get to play in. Like it just fleshes out everything and makes it so much more fun and impactful to move through the world.
Yeah.
And so that is my favorite part.
Have you ever played the game or heard of the game called A Quiet Year?
No.
Okay, well, I want to play it with you really bad. So it is literally a world building game.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is, I think there are multiple lanes that you can choose when you play this game, but I've seen a lot of people play it, and then after the world is built, they play a campaign in it. So it's a co-op group is building the world. You get to make a map. You get to like create like geographical areas in the map. There are weird like events that happen. I played it once and we ended up making a spaceship that looked like a shrimp, like that shrimp ship. But it's that kind of stuff where you get to create this world with your friends, and then you could play in it.
Yeah, because even like I love playing Kiri because she's just a sweet little like facet. But what I love even more is thinking about her role in the larger story that we are like collaboratively building.
That was deep.
That's like
Damn.
the chef's kiss of this.
That's great.
That is lit.
Why was that surprising?
Just because like my options in my head are combat or role playing.
And I was like, no, see, I
third
played a
option.
rock first, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm not surprised that you like storytelling or the like detailed parts of the story. It's more just like I just didn't consider that to be an option.
is she gonna say combat or role play?
Yeah, yeah, or like social time. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, that's great. I also thoroughly enjoyed that part. That's part of the reason why I like Critical Role so much is because it is wrought with lore. Like, and it's a homebrewed world.
Yeah.
So like nobody knows what this world includes aside from Matt Mercer. And the fact that I also like this, and I hope someday we can experience this. They've been playing in the same world across 3 campaigns. So the world has just continued to expand and expand and expand.
Yeah.
And they've like met characters from their first campaign and their third campaign and stuff like that. So like someday I would love to do something like that, where it's like not only is the world, you know, big and, you know, our characters are but small pieces in a large moving thing, but then it's like even more fleshed out. And it feels lived in because you've had characters previously
you have lived in it,
you know,
for so
Parts in
long.
different times.
Yeah.
I would love someday to just like world build and then have someone else
DM
it.
We
wanna
can make that happen. We will make it happen.
I'm not sure our group would be, because I would love to do a like horror.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that.
And I'm not sure that's right for our group, but I would
Say
love
more
to
about
eventually.
what that sounds like for you. What does horror
Yeah,
include?
do more words about that.
So, inspired by, I'm not sure if either of you have heard of this or listened to it, but the Magnus Archives.
I think I've heard the phrase. Continue.
It's a very, it's a podcast, like it's a serialized story through podcast form, and I highly recommend. It is chef's kiss of storytelling, especially in an audio format. But it kind of takes the theme of that, like there's a personification of everything that everyone is afraid of.
Oh, okay. Like a boggart.
Yeah, like there's a like trying to pare this down to something that's like conveyable.
Digestible.
Yeah. That like there is essentially a god of the fear of spiders.
Got it.
Kind of a thing.
That's
Did you hear that,
terrible
Katie?
for me.
Yeah. Did you?
And like she is the like the spinner of webs. And so she like wants to pull more people into her that are afraid and just like feed off of that fear.
So like the fear like gives her strength, or like
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And
you're
all of
welcome.
these gods are like vying for power
Okay.
to be like the most
The
powerful.
Nightmare King.
Yeah, or there's like there was one that's like a fear of insecurity
Ooh,
that feeds off of
Great.
people in like gyms or plastic surgery centers
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
And they present as like hodgepodge, like Frankenstein sort of situations.
Mhm.
But the plot line is that there's a group of people that are trying to prevent these from coming to power and like ending the world
Sure.
into a state of perpetual chaos and death.
Hell.
Yeah. But like on Earth.
You're
Yeah.
right.
So it's like trying to find certain artifacts that will stop the rituals that will
Cool.
that kind of thing.
I could get down with something like that. It's when if it heads into extremely violent and extremely graphically violent, that like I struggle with
Yeah,
horror.
no.
I'm like psychological horror. Let's rock, baby. As long as we can watch Disney Channel or something after.
Yeah, I just need a palate cleanser, or I will be in bed like.
Well, yeah, because
I think there are spiders in my ceiling.
And I'm not doing it justice. I suggest everyone listen to it. It has like fully concluded at this point, so like it is a whole unit, and I've been meaning to like go and re-listen because it's stunning. Rusty Quill just does a beautiful
main writer.
Mhm. Just do a beautiful job. But
I would love to do some kind of like Scooby-Doo campaign. I'm totally shifting gears, but like hearing you talk about that made me think about, have you heard of the podcast Lore? I feel like if anyone has, it's you.
I've heard of it. I haven't like listened.
I also highly recommend. Some of his earlier episodes are a little bit less polished. So like I recommend looking at the remastered episodes, but he is an amazing storyteller. He tells a lot. He talks about the intersectionality between like spooky, scary, haunted, and historical. So like a lot of that. One of my favorite episodes he did was talking about the ghost stories that exist around lighthouses and like the coast of Maine and like how treacherous like the water is there and the people who've lived in the lighthouses. But I feel like you would eat that shit up.
Yeah. So I think maybe horror is the wrong
No, I think
word.
that would be.
I mean, it technically would be.
Yeah, very tied to fear.
But you're not talking about
but
like,
it's not like constantly like slasher or
Right.
like
it's not.
it would.
Psychological horror.
Yeah.
What's the show? I'm looking for Evil Dead. You're not talking about like Evil Dead
No.
horror.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
It's just like the
I'm gonna mess you up right here.
come here,
Yeah.
give me your brain.
Yeah.
I'm gonna Jordan Peele your head.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I think what this tells me is that an episode in the future should be playing A Quiet Year.
Yeah.
With-
Yeah.
Emily.
It might need to be multiple sessions.
Sure.
Because it's a
Yeah, right.
multi-part series, but I love it. It's good. Fashion
we
show.
just-
Fashion show. Fashion show at lunch.
I think that's great.
Sorry.
Please.
Could bring Caden in too.
There you go.
Because Caden led the first time I played it.
Nice.
And he is a very like, oh, I love that idea. Okay. Like, what over
Yes,
here?
ma'am.
What are we doing?
Great. Well,
Love a yes and.
keep an eye out for that.
Caden, did you hear that?
Hit us up in the comments if you think that's a good idea. And if
He's
not,
gonna eat
don't.
that up.
And don't at me if I butchered a synopsis of Magna's Archives, please.
You're fine.
Get that insecurity gun out of here.
Do you have, Soren, the lightning round questions from our previous interviews with our husbands?
Are they in a notebook?
If they were anywhere, they would be in there.
Shuffle, shuffle, scramble, scramble.
Okay, I've got some.
Okay.
I've got some.
All right.
Current favorite spell.
Yeah.
I love Call Lightning.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
bad.
very good.
Does that
It's
literally just
repeatable.
Okay.
Right.
And just I love lightning spells.
Sure. Favorite
Zap,
drink?
Oh.
favorite drinkity? What are you drinking today?
What I'm drinking today is not my favorite drink.
That's
it
fair.
tastes like chapstick.
Why do you get it?
Because
The onset.
okay, there's like the front taste is like good gingerbread drink. The aftertaste is chapstick. So I'm rocking with the first 50%.
Okay.
And just dealing with the second 50%.
Right.
But my favorite drink is probably just a good old mocha. Like I am a sleut for a good double mocha.
Where my mocha salutes at.
That was probably real cute.
Yeah, all three of us doing that.
That would be the title card.
We're all married, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we don't have anyone to impress anymore.
Nope, just my squishmallows.
And then number one, okay, wow. We're getting wild at the end of this.
I'm so glad I handed that to you.
Like one phrase,
Yeah.
tip for people who want to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Nike, folks.
Hey, we're allegedly, I don't know what word we need to say. We are not taking Nike's intellectual property.
Oh.
I was
just
thinking
do
more
it.
in lines
Also not
of,
sponsored.
Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, just do it.
Yeah.
Just
I
do
was not
it.
ready for you to do
Make
that.
your dreams come true.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
You might not have this, and if you don't, that's fine. Do you have a catchphrase? What would be your personal catchphrase?
I feel like I'm the worst person to answer this.
Okay.
Cody likes to impersonate me. That's
Sure.
my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm always caught off guard by the impersonations, but they are so accurate that I feel seen.
Yeah.
If you don't think of it, I have one for you.
Give me.
If you've ever wondered why does Caitie do that so much, it's because of Emily.
That and like I click.
Oh, yes. Yeah, do you do that to all your animals? 100%.
And just in places it does not belong.
Yep. We all have those like idle noises.
Vocal
At least
stimming all the time.
At least I do. Yeah. Okay, good. Yep.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks. Emily's catchphrase is
Yeah. Or calling things just wild.
That's wild. That's wild.
You
That's wild.
also get that
Yeah.
from her, don't you? I have a bunch of catchphrases I steal from you too,
Yeah.
so I feel that.
And chances are, if you stole them from me, you've probably
Stolen from Emily?
stolen from Emily.
That's fair.
Because we have been together for so much of our lives that at this point we
or
just
It's,
pretty
I know
the
for
same
sure
person.
that one of them is yeah dog.
yeah, dog.
Yeah, dog.
Yeah dog. I'll think of others, but that one's probably my favorite.
Thank you.
That I steal.
I almost said yeah, dog for me, but I think that's one I stole from you.
It's hard to know at this point.
We share a noodle.
That's it for us this week. Thanks for spending time with us today. Also, thanks to Noah Trumbull for the use of our theme song. You can find all of his stuff in the doobly-doo.
Yeah, and his band Pearl Parade, shout out Noah. They just released an album.
Oh yeah.
So go check it out on
it
Spotify.
out.
Pearl Parade. It's called Pearly Whites. It's very, very good and fun. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Nope, you're next.
Sweet. Well, if you're enjoying this show, there are a few things we'd love if you do. So first, leave us a review because reviews help people find us. We're doing motions with it. Reviews help people find us. And then second, if you follow us wherever you get your podcasts.
And on YouTube now.
And our... At this point, you already done know that.
Yeah.
But lastly, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and just stay up to date on everything we're doing. We are most active on Instagram. That word was not coming out of my head. We're most active on Instagram. We love to have a little bit of fun over there with y'all. But we also post on Facebook and Twitter.
And that's where you can find our link tree to get things like
Our role-playing reference guide.
Role-playing reference guide and the very important backstory downloadables so that you too can build your own D&D character. We also want to hear from you. Did something come up in today's conversation with Emily that made you think? Do you have suggestions about what you want us to talk about? Literally, I'm like, I'm not kidding. If you have something you think you want us to talk about, you gotta tell us. Okay?
I want to hear a history of D&D.
It's a plan.
It's in the queue,
We're
for sure.
planning it.
And this is the thing. I spoke with my father the other day. Hi, Michael. And he was like, I have notes. And he gave me a list of ideas. And I actually, like, it's a little bit of a running joke in the family of, like, learning time with dad. But also, like, legit, like, grateful because the two of us can only come up with so many ideas. And we can talk ourselves out of a lot of ideas also. So if there's actually something that you think, you're like, gosh, I wish they would just talk about this one thing, you gotta tell us.
Yeah. Because the insecurity God will say, that's dumb.
And are you smart enough to talk about that?
Not most of the time, no. But if I have resources
and know that you want to hear it,
I will talk about it.
Yeah. So you can DM us on any of our social media platforms, but you can also send us an email and we'll respond as quickly as we can. It's CHROMAROSES@gmail.com. It's all lowercase. Please, for the love of God, send us stuff.
Oh my God.
Okay.
We can't wait to hear from you, but this has been Chromatic Roses. I'm Soren.
And I'm Caitie. I don't know what our sign off is, but I'm going to say, mommy those hobbies.
Kayla.